Sergei Magnitsky was killed because he worked for me. He was killed because he was my lawyer. If he hadn't worked for me, he'd still be alive today. And when I was able to finally think clearly through the fog of heartbreak and hysteria, I made a vow to his memory, to his family, and to myself that I was going to put aside everything else I was doing in my life and devote all of my time, all of my energy, and all of my resources to go after the people who killed him to make sure that they face justice. And for the last 15 years, that's what I've been doing. And so it became clear that there was no chance of getting justice in Russia. So we said, how do we get justice outside of Russia? And that's when I came up with an interesting idea, which is that the people who killed him, they did it for money. They don't keep that money in Russia. They keep that money in the West. And so the idea was, maybe we can't prosecute these people for torture and murder here in the UK or in the US, but we can freeze their assets and we can ban them from traveling here. And of course, they love traveling here. We've seen it with all the Russians coming to London and New York and so on. And on December 14, 2012, President Obama signed the Magnitsky Act into law. And Putin went out of his mind. He banned the adoption of Russian orphans by American families in retaliation. He announced that it was his single largest foreign policy priority to repeal the Magnitsky Act. And then he started coming after me. Now, he was hoping that he would intimidate me, and he was hoping that he'd intimidate the United States, hopefully to repeal the Magnitsky Act. Neither happened. I then moved on to Canada. In 2017, the Canadians passed a Magnitsky Act. Here in the UK, in 2018, the UK passed a Magnitsky Act. In 2020, the EU passed a Magnitsky Act, 27 countries. In 2021, the Australians passed a Magnitsky Act. In between, we've got Iceland, Norway, Kosovo, Montenegro, and various other places. There's now 35 countries with Magnitsky Acts all over the world. I'll never be able to shed myself of the burden of guilt and responsibility that I have for Sergei Magnitsky's death, but I have made sure that his death wasn't a meaningless death, that his death will hopefully protect. And I should point out that the Magnitsky Act doesn't just apply now to Russian human rights violators, it applies to human rights violators all over the world, in China and Iran and so on and so forth. And my hope is that his sacrifice, his death, will hopefully, through the Magnitsky Act, save many lives around the world.